It's Trump's Trials from NPR. I'm Scott Detrow.
This is a persecution.
He actually just stormed out of the courtroom.
Innocent till proven guilty in a court of law.
After months of delays and then a landmark Supreme Court decision granting broad criminal immunity to sitting presidents, former President Donald Trump's federal election interference case was back in the courtroom today. This is the case tied to Trump's efforts to overturn the 2020 election, which led to the January 6th attack on the U.S. Capitol. Special counsel Jack Smith's team recently filed a new, more limited set of charges to take into account the Supreme Court's ruling. Today, they appeared before Judge Tanya Chutkan and said they're again ready to move the case forward. Trump's defense team, as they've successfully done for more than a year now, attempted to further delay future proceedings. They also tried to get the case thrown out altogether. Stick around. NPR Justice Correspondent Carrie Johnson will break down what happened in the courtroom and what comes next.
From how we grow crops,
I think I'm 8th generation to farm,
to what we put on our plates.
Plant-based eating isn't, scary. It doesn't make you less of a man.
Climate change is influencing the future of food. That's what we're exploring this year during NPR's Climate Solutions Week. Learn more at npr.org/Climate Week. What does the future of food look like as the climate continues to change? We'll bring you innovations and answers during NPR's Climate Solutions Week. Explore with us at npr.org/Climate Week.
You're listening to Trump's Trials. I'm Scott Detrow. And now, here's Ari Shapiro.
So this federal election interference case has been on hold for months. What happened when everybody returned to court today?
This was the first time Trump and the DOJ lawyers have appeared since the landmark Supreme Court ruling this summer. The conservative supermajority on the court gave Trump and future presidents broad immunity from prosecution for actions that involve their core powers. The high court said official actions are presumed to have immunity. That's a bit of a gray area. And personal acts from a president get no legal shield. It's now going to be up to Judge Tanya Chutkan to make those tough calls. She's figuring out how to proceed in this case, but she says there needs to be some forward motion, even if there's no chance of a trial this year.
Well, what's the Justice Department asking for at this stage?
Prosecutors want to file one big brief about why this case should survive the Supreme Court decision. That could include some new evidence and evidence we already knew about. The Justice Department says it can be ready to do that by the end of September, but some of the material might be under seal because it involves sensitive witness interviews or grand jury information. Trump's lawyer, John Lauro, seemed worried about that becoming public before the November election. He talked about a moment of great sensitivity for the nation and how this case involves the presidency, but the judge shot him down. She says she's worried about this 4-count felony case and not the election calendar.
Well, looking ahead, what are the biggest legal battles still to come in this case?
Both sides had a lot to say today about former Vice President Mike Pence. Trump's accused of pressuring Pence to delay certification of the electoral count on January 6th. Randall Eliason is a law professor at George Washington University. He says this is going to be a big fight.
The vice president is kind of a gray area. So that will be a major source of contention. Smith is arguing that what Mike Pence did here was not in his role as vice president, but in his constitutional role as president of the Senate, the legislative role. There is really no role for the president or vice president in counting the votes.
Donald Trump's lawyers see this differently. They think Trump's contacts with Pence should get legal protection. They say if Trump has immunity there, the whole case should be dismissed because the grand jury heard tainted evidence. But the judge wasn't so sure about that. We're going to be reading and hearing a lot more about it in the weeks ahead.
And Trump did not appear in court today. He was giving a campaign speech in New York. Did you get any hints about the next steps for him and his lawyers in this case?
Yeah, Donald Trump's lawyers say they plan to challenge the appointment of the special counsel Jack Smith. They argue he was named in an unconstitutional way. A Florida judge appointed by Trump bought that argument and used it to dismiss a separate criminal case against the former president for hoarding classified documents this year. But Judge Chutkan in D.C. says she is not persuaded. She says there's binding precedent here in D.C. that blesses the way the Justice Department names special counsels. And when Trump's lawyers cited writing by the conservative Supreme Court Justice Clarence Thomas to help make his case, this judge in D.C. seemed really skeptical.
NPR's Carrie Johnson, thank you.
My pleasure.
Thanks for listening to Trump's Trials from NPR. Keep an eye out for more episodes like this whenever big news happens. I'm Scott Detrow.
Hey, it's Mike and Ian. We're the hosts of How to Do Everything from the team at Wait, Wait, Don't Tell Me.
Every week, we take your questions and find someone much smarter than us to answer them.
Questions like, how do I safely jump out of a moving vehicle?
How do I dangerously jump out of a moving vehicle? We can't help you, but we will find someone who can.
Listen to the How to Do Everything podcast from NPR.
I'm Danielle Kurtzleben. I cover the presidential campaign for NPR, so I go to rallies, a lot of them. I want to hear what the candidates say, talk to voters, and find out what ideas are resonating. And I put it all in my reporting to help you make sense of this election. It's why being there is important. To help support this work, sign up for NPR Plus. Go to plus.npr.org.